My name is Asher Lev, the son of Aryeh and Rivka Lev. I am an observant Jew. I am an artist. My gift is from the Rabbono Shel Olam and the Sitra Achra. It is demonic and it is divine, and it carries with it the power to hurt and the power to heal. My name is Asher Lev.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for my Nightcap this Monday night. I'm so excited to get to chat with the actors and the director of My Name is Asher Lev by Aaron Posner, based on the best-selling novel by Chaim Potok. The play is set in post-war Brooklyn and is a coming-of-age story of a Hasidic young man whose calling is to be an artist, in this case, a painter, at all costs, even if it causes a rift in his community and with his family. And it's the kind of play that when I think about it and the performances, it's exactly the kind of art that I'm craving right now. And oh, how I wish I could see it just one more time. I remember audiences leaving absolutely shattered, not because they were in any pain, but because I think from an unexpected experience. Sometimes you go to a play, the synopsis sounds good, but when you come out of it, you just can't stop thinking about it and its characters, and it really changes you, and you remember that experience forever. Maybe because of the relationships, about family, it's about what drives us to be who we are, and of course, ultimately, the plight of the artist. It was also, something that you can really only experience in a room with other people. And so today it's made me miss theater a little more than I have in a very long time. My Name is Asher Lev was a co-production with the Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre, and their artistic director of 30 years, Stephen Shipper, directed the show first in Montreal before it went off to Winnipeg. And Stephen Shipper is here with us. And so are our mega talented actors, Ellen David and David Real, and hopefully Alex Poshgolden, who is hopefully running late. They are not only brilliant, dramatic performers, but in real life, they are also just so nice and so much fun. And if we're lucky, we're going to hear some of their backstage shenanigans. And I just can't wait to see them again. So welcome to Stephen and Ellen and David. Hi.
Hello.
This is so awesome. Thank you. So nice to see you, and hopefully we'll get our what was his name? I'm thinking Abba. I automatically go to the Hebrew, but Tate.
Aryeh.
What? Aryeh. Okay. I'm gonna start this off just by Stephen, I know you don't want to be put on the spot right away, but you're the director. So, and this was one of, and I think for you too, one of the fastest and quickest and easiest programming decisions that was ever made. Do you want to do this play? Yes, I love it. Let's go. So I'm going to ask you, why for you was it such an easy decision? Like, what about this play made you say yes and to come to Montreal, and what for you was it?
Mostly you.
Mostly me. Okay, that's next.
No, really. We had talked about various projects, and this was, as you say, a sweet, easy one to choose. And knowing you and your commitment to your artists in Montreal and your commitment to excellence in the artistry that happens at the Seagull, it was just an easy yes. And, I'm going to just jump right into the amazing cast we had and the designers, and also, along with you, the team at the Seagull. Like I remember each and every one of the administration, office workers, the box office staff, the production staff, our stage managers, and of course the two actors who are here with us now, Ellen and David, and Alex, who hopefully isn't doing a sports draft because Alex, there are no sports on right now. But yeah, I mean, the whole experience was a highlight for me, and every moment was precious.
Yeah, it's
Oh, and to be in the same city as my parents, you know, that was a gift.
yeah, it's amazing, you know, the process of this and the wonderful collaboration that took place, and you know, with the two of you. I mean, it was spectacular. And so, David, you know, you had to learn an accent for this, and I remember now it's all coming back to me, but when you prepped for this show, you actually went to Brooklyn. Am I right?
I did, yeah. I was lucky because, you know, we don't often have a lot of time to prepare. I do mostly film and TV stuff, and I never get a chance to really dive into the material and prepare. There's no rehearsals, don't even happen anymore in film and TV. So it was so great to get to go back to the theater and to know I was doing a show. And I think I was like had 6 months to prepare. And one of the things I did the summer before was I went down to Brooklyn, and I just went without knowing anybody. And I was like, maybe if I don't know what I could do. I'll just stand around and see if I can meet someone and maybe talk to someone and meet some people who have some experiences that can point towards what life might have been like for someone at the, you know, mid-century experiencing this kind of lifestyle. I ended up doing a tour down there. There is some like ex-Hasidic, there was this one ex-Hasidic woman who gives tours of Williamsburg and will bring you through and show you the food and talk about her life and talk about the lifestyle. And she was amazing. And she introduced me to a bunch of people, including a young man named Manny. And Manny was the one who translated all of the text for me and gave me the pronunciation of all of the words. And that was before, like way before I came to Montreal. And so that was really cool to be able to meet people and have a touchstone for that kind of authentic, at least pronunciation, if not experience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You became Asher Lev. I mean, you could feel it. You could feel like the audience was with you from the beginning to the end. And you started out as a 6-year-old and you ended up, you know, how old were you by the end?
How old is he? 22. I mean, you can go as far as you want because it depends where he's looking back from. I forget what we decided on at his oldest, because when he's telling the story, by the end of the story he tells, he's in his early 20s, but where he's telling the story from is kind of up into interpretation. How old was I when we did it? 28 or something.
Wow.
So,
Me was also 28 when we did it.
And you never left. And you never left the stage.
Oh, that's right.
You never left the stage, and Ellen had some pretty crazy quick changes.
Yeah, I would stay on stage and Ellen would disappear, and I never knew what happened back there, but she would come back on as a totally different person with a different wig, different costume, different accent, different age.
Yeah. So Ellen, do you remember? I mean, it's so incredible, you know, like if I wasn't in theater, I'd ask you, what's it like playing multiple characters on stage, and how do you switch between them so quickly?
Well, it was the marathon, basically. It was, you know, you'd arrive on stage after having done this whirlwind changing wigs. And even for Rivka, there were a series of wigs of different lengths and different styles. So it would be like insane. And, you know, Karine Brisson was backstage amazingly making all this so smooth. And then you would just have to like walk on as if nothing had happened. So it was a remarkable experience. It was it was kind of, it was nonstop. It was really, it was exciting, actually. It was great. I loved it. Are you going to show the nude model too?
Oh yeah, that you do brave things, but you do it with such professionalism.
That was the easiest quick change. Ellen just took everything off and then she was done.
It's not that late of a show.
It's so interesting the way the screens are. David and I are actually like, we're on the stage.
Oh yeah.
The bottom of our screen is actually on the Seagull stage. So I feel like I'm back there right now. It's so exciting.
Yeah. And Ellen, for you, somehow, like, you always connect the characters that you end up playing to something personal. I've noticed that, having worked with you, you find this beautiful connection. And I think about that with the character of Rivka for you, and what that and the journey that she went on also, and how you're able to tap into that. And I think that's part of why you were so incredible in this role. What was it like for you, like when you're able to really connect something personal to a role that you're playing?
It's magical. First of all, starting with someone like Steven, who is just a gift of a director, who gives you everything you need, gives you the space, gives you incredible guidance. You really feel like you can just fly and you can try anything. And with the family that we put together, including the designers and the team, but the actors, the fellow actors, we were really a family. And we looked in each other's eyes and really felt like there we are, there's everybody.
Oh my God.
Really felt like a part of something very special and very profound and very moving. And it just touched that, that part of oneself that wants to express all the trials and tribulations and challenges of what it is to be a united family and to have a child, let's say, who's really going out above and beyond what one's community would think is proper. And as a mom, support that initiative, and at the same time, being in a very religious Jewish family, honor my husband as well. So the kind of the tear within us was, I think, was so profound and really palpable to play. So that's what made it really a meaningful experience.
Breaking news: Alex is here.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey!
I would only say that there's a time difference here that Stephen should have pointed out to someone, that sometimes you get confused about what's happening back in the other part of the world. So, hello, everybody.
Hi.
He's
Oops.
We're just
Yeah,
we're
like-
so happy you're here. We're so happy you're here. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice to see you. We just kind of, like, I had so many questions prepared about outside of the show, and we just kind of dove into this show. Just seeing that trailer in the beginning triggered so many incredible things. And you brought it up, Ellen, just now about the Hasidic family and honoring your husband. And Stephen, I want to ask you, the cultural specificity of this was so important to be as authentic as possible.
Mhm.
And we see it in shows. I said, like, I mentioned Stiesel earlier before we got started. I think Asher Lev was the original Akiva Stiesel, but the authenticity of it, and how, if you remember, how did you ensure that we were portraying the Hasidic aspects of this in a respectful way and with great authenticity?
Yeah, we went all in, so to speak, to try and do that. And we weren't always successful until we got some help toward the end from some rabbis that Ellen brought in from the Hasidic community, two rabbis specifically, who both loved the production, but said, for example, under no circumstances would anyone touch each other. And we said, well, yeah, I understand when you're outside the house or whatever. No. under no circumstances would anyone ever touch each other. Yes, but of course they love each other. They're going to give each other a hug before they leave. No, 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 no. Under no circumstances. So that's when we discovered the deep gaze. We asked, so what do you do instead of a meaningful hug and a tender kiss before you leave for a long time? And he said, you look into each other's eyes and you try and communicate everything you're feeling about this separation or
Yeah.
your love or whatever it is. And I don't think we indulged those looks. They became organic. And the actors, who again were just so brilliant, you're looking at all three of them, like brilliant, mummish, brilliant. And they filled those looks for just as long as were appropriate.
Yeah.
People
It
would
was-
talk about that. I remember after the show, people would be like, those looks were so powerful. And we weren't sure if they were going to translate to the audience, because it's not like on film where you're getting a close-up and Ellen and Alex are spending this time looking at each other, sometimes upstage for these long looks. And they were powerful, and it was quiet in the house, and you could feel I think it's something we can relate to now, because I know my mom is dying for when she can hug me again. And we got to bring those deep looks back to that's how we're going to do intimacy now.
Yeah, that's very true. It's true. We called it the long, lingering look, and it was extremely powerful. And when we discovered it, I remember when the rabbi talked about it, and then it's like it became a little bit superficial at first, but then the depth of it became more and more profound. And it was, it's interesting. Falling in love with people you work with, on all of your son, your wife, that kind of thing, and to make the connection that way instead of physical I thought it was really. It was an emotional thing, and as Stephen says too, they never went too long. It's like sometimes they were a little shorter. Maybe you weren't going to miss her so much this time, but you still played it and you still felt it, and it was rich that way.
Yeah, amazing. How I'm looking at you, Alex, and I'm reminded right now that you were to be an Indecent, and that's one of the shows that you lost as a result of this pandemic.
Yeah.
And another play where you play multiple roles.
No, it was only the one role in this one.
Oh, that's right. You were what's his name? I have the Stiesel in my mind.
You mean in Asher Lev, or you mean
no, in Indecent?
Lemmel.
Oh,
Lemmel.
Yeah.
No, we did a reading of it online with the company, which was really quite nice to do. It was unexpected, and the play. I'm sorry to lose it because every time I read it, I became more deeply connected to the character and to the story. I had seen the play in New York, and I had read it, and I also saw the Broadway HD version of it too, just on film to see what it was like again.
Yeah.
But every time I engaged with the character, and then finally when we did the reading, I felt so present with it that I felt the loss of the experience much more. And I don't know what's going to happen. I think they put stuff into storage, but how long can we do that for? And after this whole thing, I guess part of the thing is to discover what are the plays that should be done. What is the relevancy of theater, and how do we share that with people? Do they want to escape, or do they want to engage in thoughtful exercises?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I've been thinking about a lot of the joyful shows that it's the natural go-to, and then as part of this Asher Lev reunion, I meant every word that I said in my introduction. This is the show that I want to see now. This show about family and love and humanity and art. And I think Indecent is very much like that. And I hope you get a chance to play Lemmel.
Thank you. But I think you're absolutely right. I think, because I think about what do I do about writing? What do I write now? What stories are to tell, etc. And I think regardless, you pointed out nicely that there has to be hope. I think there has to be hope, because it's a pretty grim time. So we need to kind of up it a bit and kind of grab it by the throat and make there be the possibility. I hope can be catharsis too. You can watch a tragedy, but you come out hopeful of the potential of who you are and what life can offer. So
yeah, Hey, Ellen's back.
She's giving me a long lingering look right now, I think.
Yeah. David, what were you scheduled to do anything that upcoming that you weren't able to do?
I was in the middle of shooting, well, not in the middle, right at the very end of shooting a television show called American Gods. And I had basically shot all of my stuff, but the show didn't. They had a couple of more days because they were going like a few weeks longer. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen if that season is. They'll probably go to air with what they have, and maybe even if they have to shorten it a little bit. But yeah, my partner who I live with, she was in Montreal actually shooting a show and was flying back here to do another one, and both of them just shut down, disappeared, and maybe we'll never see the light of day.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. I feel like our viewers might be looking at you, and yes, they know you from Asher Lev, but you make quite a lot of appearances on a lot of shows that people watch. Suits, Designated Survivor.
Designated Survivor, one, right? Yeah.
I saw him in an episode of Rivka Lev too.
I was in the famous Rivka Lev.
The famous Rivka Lev, and you are maybe most famous for one of your smallest roles. I'm sure the smallest role. But people are still insane for you. I'm not going to give it away. We're gonna show.
Oh, okay. We'll save that Easter egg.
Yeah.
Glen Coco, fall for you, Glen Coco. You go, Glen Coco.
There's my hair.
So that was.
Look at that slouch. See, that's really good. That's a good high school teenager slouch I've got going on there. That's commitment.
But you're probably not joking. You probably put a lot of thought into that slouch.
No, I put zero thought into that slouch. I think I was trying to hide.
But just like Coco became a thing, like, I don't know, if more people saw Asher Lev, and Rivka and the Rivka Lev series, I think it would become a thing too.
Well, I've never had like a celebrity moment of fans freaking out like I did with Asher Lev.
Okay, tell us this story, because you sent us this video. It blew me away. Tell us about this Asher Lev moment for you.
So after Montreal, we went and had a run at MTC in Winnipeg. And when that was done, I was flying back to Toronto the day after, I guess, our closing. And I get to the airport and I was feeling kind of low. It's always kind of sad when you're ending a show. And I get there and there's about 30 children and they point and they scream Asher Lev and they all run and swarm me. And it was like, I never experienced anything like it. I'm watching, what was it like? I'm watching The Last Dance show with what's it called? Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And he's seeing him being swarmed by fans. I'm not that kind of, I don't have that kind of celebrity, obviously, but this felt like that for a second.
That is amazing. Well, and you captured it, which is a gift.
Yeah, immediately I was like, okay, hang on a second. I grabbed my phone out because this may never happen again.
Amazing. Okay, let's watch.
What play did you see? Not everybody at once. Did you like it?
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
Everything. Everything. Woo!
And where's Asher? Is that Asher?
I'm here.
Oh, you're the real Asher.
Hi.
And where are you guys from?
Vancouver.
Vancouver. How long were you in Winnipeg?
4 days. Done. I'm the real Asher.
Awesome. Wow.
That is amazing. I mean, look at all those kids touching each other. Social distancing.
I know.
It's what it's like to be a Jewish superhero.
Yeah,
David.
I'm happy you had that experience. Wow.
Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, and they
Stephen,
were.
So Stephen, you're after your tenure at the Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre, you are now in Brampton, and like us, I'm assuming you had, like everybody, like us, but you had to cancel.
Yeah, we closed March 13th,
Oh,
we
you're on mute. Oh,
Oh, thanks. Am I still on mute? We closed March 13th, and we canceled every show that was scheduled from then till now, and we're canceled through the summer, and we're hoping to come back in the fall, but who knows? They're going to let us know when they let us know. You know, we're all at the mercy of our provincial governments and the health authorities, and we all want everyone to be safe. And unfortunately, it seems as though theaters are going to be among the last to open. But fortunately, we've surveyed our audience, and the vast majority are saying, when it's safe, we're coming back. So I have no doubt that this is a momentary pause. I like what you say on your website, Lisa. It's just intermission.
Alex and David, can you speak for a sec?
Yes, hello. Testing,
Oh,
testing.
everyone is now muted for me.
Well,
no.
we can hear each other.
Like
Hang on a second.
so
We
bizarre.
can hear
Okay,
other.
this is live. This is live, people.
Yeah,
This is what we're trained for, right? Okay,
Who
so I guess
I would have put my beer in a
I'm
cup.
gonna pop in and out. Okay, I'll be
Okay,
back.
bye.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I mean, usually it's live, but someone has written me lines to say. So
All right. I want to tell everyone that since Terry and I moved to Brampton, or I guess we had our first grandchild, Samantha Gabriella Shipper, Nathaniel and Elizabeth's daughter, who is now 19 and a half months. And
congratulations.
thank you. And lives in Toronto. So we are but a 45-minute drive away. And our daughter, Susan, and her husband, Michael, who both live in Baltimore, are expecting any day now their first child.
No.
We don't know what it is. They don't know what it is. And we're hoping some kind U.S. Customs officer will let us drive through on Wednesday morning because we're intent on being there with them.
Oh, that is, I can't imagine what it's like for grandparents not being able to hold their grandchild. I can't imagine.
Yeah, or daughters to have their mothers there by them when they really want them there.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, it'll all be good.
Yeah, it'll be great.
It'll be good.
And congratulations.
So, okay, let's
Thank
get back to Asher Lev. We're having some technical difficulties, so I'm going to delay the Rivka Lev until I officially know that it's hopeless for her to come back. But I would like, just to help us get back in the zone, I'd like to show another clip from the play. This is from our media call, and then see where that leads us.
You brought drawings?
I gave her the notebook. She studied them, slowly. For what seemed like an eternity, there was no noise, just the rustling of pages. Finally,
You are, to put it bluntly, magnificent. You have a sense of line that can only be a gift. Who is this woman you draw so often? Your mother?
yes,
And the man?
my father.
Yes? I see. Are you really 13 years old?
Yes,
Why not? Why not? Goya was 12, Picasso was 9.
He's not a Goya or a Picasso, not yet. Millions of people can draw. Odd is whether or not there's a scream in him fighting to get out.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. What is that? What do you think of when you watch that?
I didn't expect this, but right from when we started, when you played that that preview, I was like moved to tears. And this play, this whole experience has a really special, and my time at the Siegel Center especially, it holds a really special place in my heart. And seeing that It's pretty emotional for me, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
David was relentless in his pursuit of the truth. Relentless. Never stopped working. None of us did, but David led in that regard.
Was it annoying, Stephen?
Never. It was inspiring.
Yeah, it was a really special time. I remember there's this one section of the play where I'm alone for a long portion. It's when I talk about my time in Europe, or Asher's time in Europe. And I was wondering when we were going to rehearse this section of the play, because we were rehearsing all of these quick changes and we were rehearsing all these other parts. And I'm like, there's these 6 pages of script where I'm just by myself. Are we ever going to rehearse that? And Stephen was like, yeah. And we had one rehearsal in the first week where he just said, just sit there and read it. And so I just read it and he was like, okay, let's go to lunch. I was like, okay. And then the next week he was like, I forget what we did, but we somehow, again, we let's talk about the blocking of that. And we walked around the stage a bit. We didn't. And then when we were actually on the stage, Stephen, you had me just improvise it. You said, just do the story. Just tell us what you don't say in the play of what happened when you were in Europe. And for, I don't know how long it was, maybe, 15, 20 minutes. And I wasn't prepared for this. Stephen just kind of threw that at me and we just went. And, it was things like that, kind of magical moments of inexplicable connection and dropping into I don't know how to describe it, but it was very special for me for sure.
It's amazing. Stephen, do you have?
I was going to share some of Alex's struggles and triumph. Alex, the award-winning member of our cast, or one of the 3 award-winning. David absolutely should have won for everything, but Alex and I worked really hard on the anger of the character. And I remember we blocked the play, we stitched it together just on a first kind of run through. And I thought every little bit of it that we had done was good. And I was looking forward to the run through. But at the end of the run through, I felt like I must have done something really wrong, because it all felt really wrong. And I went to the playwright, who's always a good source to go to, and we talked about it. And he said, one of the traps that people can fall into is the father can get too angry. And Alex wasn't necessarily too angry or anything. Alex was playing the moments, extremely well. But it was helpful when Alex and I could share that advice from the playwright and say, he's a loving father. And then from then on, how to play it, Alex, you could probably put it into better words than I can, how to play that anger as lovingly as possible made all the difference.
I found it really quite challenging, and it was a surprise because I think the way that I had been working on it, I think my father was known to raise his voice every so often. And so that felt like a comfortable place to go to some extent. And I realized I could be too loud or too vociferous sometimes. And but having Stephen share that with me, I think it made me feel insecure initially. And then you think, okay, well, you break it down and then you try to build it up again and find a way. How do you approach this and how do you make it, for the vision of the play? And what ended up happening was that I channeled it into the confusion of this father who's trying to reach his son and love him. And it wasn't once I understood that I had to turn left like that, I was able to turn left. It was, but it was, and it was much more fun to play. But to be honest, also, I always felt that first scene, because I had come out really hot in the first scene, was my most vulnerable time in the play. I always felt like I was kind of floating in space, and I sort of came in because everything had been established, and then the father comes in, and he trying to let the audience learn about him, but also play what's happening in the scene. And I kind of felt a little bit lost at times, but after that, after I always jumped off the diving board into the play that way, I felt so comfortable in everything else that I was doing.
We had a very happy accident. If you remember, what was it? A fire alarm? What? It was supposed to be was it our preview or our opening matinee or some invited dress? And there was a fire alarm and it was canceled and we didn't get to do our invited dress. And we went into just the four of us, I think.
Upstairs.
And upstairs at the theater, and Stephen, Alex, Ellen, and I. And Stephen said, okay, we're going to do the play just sitting in these chairs in this room. And we're just going to find all of the love. Yeah. Probably not a Siegel Center show without a fire alarm. Yeah. And so it was really thanks to that, because we felt something, I don't know about you all, but I felt something really come alive when we did that. And we hadn't done a pass like that. And to me, that was, I don't know what you like, not the cherry on top. It's actually the thing you add that brings the whole thing to life. Yeah.
No.
Where is our dear Ellen?
I know, she just.
So can we all talk about how magnificent she was in the show?
Yes, of course.
Brilliant.
All right.
Pretty hot.
Yeah, and the two of you, Alex and Ellen, together, that moment when you go to the exhibition or the vernissage, and I remember the first time you entered, knowing you were about to see the crucifixion, my heart was like pounding out of my chest. And how it's magical to do that when there's nothing on the canvas. That is magical. And Ellen, with all the characters she played, Ellen was
that scene by the window, that visual that Martin, our set designer, and Louise, our costume designer, and our lighting designer, there it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like a painting.
Yeah. And Ellen was just appointed AD of the Lac Brome Theater as well. And she also was on tour with Port Parole. She's very busy and, of course, was about to start. We would have been in rehearsals right now for Siberian Summer.
Oh.
So she's just one talented lady. And Louise Boulet.
Louise!
Hey, Louise!
Is those beautiful, beautiful. We love having you on the Nightcaps, Louise.
I loved eating chips and cheese curds backstage. Louise.
Yeah, I also remember those quick changes. Like, I just remember coming into the rehearsal and being like, it's 60 seconds, it's 40 seconds, it's 20 seconds.
They were the most intense quick changes ever in my life.
Can we also talk a little bit about the Montreal audiences, the Siegel audiences?
Very
Because
special.
they were very special.
Yeah, just remarkable. I felt like it felt like doing a show, because I spend the majority of the show speaking direct address to the audience. Yeah. And the audience at the Siegel were almost fully lit, so I could look into people's eyes and really talk to them. And it really felt like a family. It felt like talking to family. And I always felt so supported and actually loved. Like the way my grandmother loves me. Like when I'm telling my grandmother a story, I was just like, I've never felt that kind of warmth from an audience before. And, no offense to the Winnipeg audience, but one of the problems in Winnipeg was the stage is different and the lights were actually in my eyes and I couldn't see them. And the coldness I felt longing for those Siegel Center audiences was pretty sad and nostalgic for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of them were my relatives, David.
They were loving you. I was getting collateral love.
Hi, Luciana, our wonderful stage manager.
Luciana.
We miss you. You're doing well.
And Lucia backstage.
And oh my gosh, it was just so special. And thank you for reminding us what we always say about our space. It's the intimacy of the space. It's like every single seat is a house seat. You know, at a Broadway theater, the room are the house seats. So yeah, it's special, and it was special to see you in the performance. So I have an idea to try to get Ellen to come back. It might be better with just like less people on this.
I'll go. I'm happy to go.
Well, I was thinking it would be really nice. It would be really nice for you and I, Stephen, to disappear and to let the family on stage spend a few moments together.
Terrific.
The three of you can find a way to segue into the Rivka Lev episode.
Once again,
that doesn't work. Well, I'll come right back.
Once again, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone at the Seagull. I'll say bye for now.
Okay, Stephen. Thank you. Oh, she's gone again. Okay. She's gone now. Ah! It doesn't matter. She'll come back in and then I'll disappear. Okay. Take me away. Let's hope.
Ellen? Are you there, honey?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh my God.
Ma.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. I mean, I've heard of keeping the husband and wife separated in front of the kid, but this was really too much.
You missed all our talks about the long lingering looks.
I can still smell your cooking.
It's when you came in, Aria, that my problem started.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Is this actually Ellen's cooking right there?
Hi.
That is my cooking. That is my yeah.
Oh no!
It's a walk down memory buffet.
That's
in Winnipeg.
That's when we were watching the presidential debates.
Was that the last night?
There
all the food?
Oh my God.
Oh.
Wow.
That's our rap night party.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's at Hugh's house.
I was just there the other day. They did a presentation, a COVID thing they did a projections outside of their house.
I heard about that. How was that?
We'll talk.
Look how young we were.
Say what?
I said, look how young we were.
Yeah.
I looked older. I look younger now. What are you talking about?
Look how young the whole world was back then.
How naive.
So young and
I got your
naive.
newspaper for you. Yeah, I have your newspaper. Asher.
Oh my God.
And Asher, I have your paintbrush. You're not getting it back.
Did you actually steal a paintbrush?
I have somewhere a Jacob Kahn business card.
I have a Jacob Kahn business card for sure.
You should call me. We'll talk.
Oh, that was the other thing about the Seagull audiences is they would get the subtleties of the jokes that were written into the original novel, I'm assuming, and that Aaron Posner put into the play that, you know, the Winnipeg audiences just couldn't get. The Winnipeg audiences were Goy audiences for the most part. And so I was like, I would say, so I was used to laughs coming at certain points. You know, there was the joke about there's a joke based on the year on the Jewish calendar, because Jacob Kahn signs a photograph or a painting for me, and he signs it Jacob Kahn, whatever, 1953 or whatever. And so I sign it back, and I sign it 5,000. And that would always get a laugh in Montreal, and then I would do it in Winnipeg, and it was crickets.
Right, except for those.
They were.
Say what?
They were freezing. They were too cold to laugh.
Yeah.
I live here now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Chaim Potok readers in Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, doing a show in Montreal is like sort of like doing a show what I imagine would be like in New York. You know, just like there's an intelligence and savvy that seems to sort of go with it. That's the way I feel.
Now, Luciana is saying we have to. The Winnipeg audience are the most sophisticated. Absolutely. There was a discerning taste for sure.
There was. And I don't wanna, they They gave me this, so they know what they're talking about, you know?
Wait, we got to talk about the Rivka Lev show.
Oh, okay.
So how did this happen, Ellen? This was your idea.
This?
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
my.
my.
Oh, I have my meta's up there behind me too.
Oh, did you get one too? I didn't know.
Yeah,
Oh.
I got that, and I got the glass paperweight.
Yeah, everybody.
Fair.
Yeah, it was an experimental year.
Ellen, how did you have the idea for this Rivka Lev series?
We're sitting around one day between shows, having dinner and just killing time, and I just had this idea that Rivka deserved her own show. So Luciana actually filmed us, Karine and I. She was episode 1 of season 1, and she did the I was interviewing the wig maker. And I remember I was talking about Louise Bourret, the amazing costume designer who did the costumes, and I called her Louis Bort. And then we just put it together. And then in episode 2, we had Leslie Sidley, who was our stage manager, who came from Winnipeg and then went back with us. And she did an interview. And then I think you said maybe I can put it together and do a little, kind of a little more production value on it. So you gave the intro. So I reissued season 1, episode 1 with Karine, and then I did.
That's right.
And
I made the opening credit sequence.
And in Winnipeg, I did both of you were interviewed. And then it kind of morphed when I was doing Marjorie Prime to Prime Time with Rivka Prime.
Well, let's take a look at the episode. We have a clip right here, actually. Can we throw to a clip?
Can you roll that, Jack?
Waiting your whole life.
Shalom, and welcome to My Name is Rivka Lev, my new television show for WJEW Television, Crown Heights Cable in Brooklyn. Welcome. Today we have a very special guest. We're talking with an actor, a young man named David Reilly. Come with me into what is called his dressing room. Hello.
Oh.
David.
Hi.
May I call you Dovidal?
Sure.
All right. So, Dovidal, what is it that you do?
Well, I'm an actor.
An actor?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And how do your parents feel about this line of work?
They're okay with it.
They're okay with
Yes.
it? Really?
They're relatively supportive of my. Yeah.
Okay. Let me get to the very important questions.
Okay.
Are you married?
No, I am not. I am not married.
You're not married.
No.
A handsome young man like you.
I know. Shocker, right?
Do you think it has anything to do with what you do for a living, David?
That might have something to do with it. Yeah.
Perhaps if you were a doctor or a lawyer,
Yeah.
maybe you would have some more interest from the female persuasion.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, let's continue.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to get married?
If it happens, it happens. It would be.
I'm quelling because I'm thinking of him. I'm thinking of David on his wedding day, and it makes me laugh. It makes me so happy.
Is there someone you know that
Boy,
maybe?
do I know. I have lots of young ladies who would love to meet with you, love to have children with you.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Right, the children.
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Well,
What else is
maybe-
there but children?
Okay. Well, if I can meet them, then we'll see what happens.
All right, I'll set it up.
Oh, okay.
I'll
great.
make a match. I'll make a shidduch, as they say.
A shidduch.
A shidduch. Is that okay with you?
This is a match.
Yes.
Does that mean I'm like betrothed? Or is that-
Breaking news. We're going to make a shidduch with David Reilly,
But
actor.
you know I'm not Jewish. Is that going to be a problem?
You're not Jewish.
You know what? I have to say that a lot. These women came up to me before COVID hit, and they asked me for my number. I was at a bakery, and I could just tell by how they were asking. I think they were at I don't know, it was a bachelorette party or something. And I said, I'll give you my number, but I'm not Jewish. And just that every time I have to tell somebody I'm not Jewish, the heartbreak in their eyes, it's too much to bear.
I'm upset even just to hear it again now.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Those I sent those women actually. to find you.
That's amazing.
You
And,
can see in there, Alex was filming the whole thing.
of course.
You see
Yeah, I
yourself
see
in the
myself in the mirror there.
I was
You know,
like,
I have to say, we thought it was amazing then, and it's more amazing now in the age of unorthodox and shtisel and all of that stuff. To be able to like create a clown character of a kind, you know, and that world. I think it's really something you should pursue still.
I just love that you had a slightly different Rivka on stage as you did on the show. It's like
it was my own show. It was my own show. So you know.
Good Shabbos to you. Hello, and welcome to Prime Time.
You know, here's the thing, Ellen. I am not an editor. I edited these things, and so Ellen is doing Marjorie Prime back at the Seagull, and she says, "I want to interview the Marjorie Prime cast as Rivka." And so, can you make me can you edit me a new show? And I thought, well, if it's Marjorie Prime, we got to do something futuristic. I spent hours because I'm not. That's really simple. Someone who could edit would do that in 10 minutes. I spent hours trying to figure that out.
That's why I'm still waiting for episode 3, I guess.
I sit down for it and I'm like, well, I have all the free time in the world now. Maybe I should do it now.
No, it was amazing. You did this incredible thing. That opening is wild. It's very funny. It makes me laugh still.
Yeah, me too.
And then she can't touch anyone because she doesn't really exist. So,
yeah.
Which kind of serves two purposes, I guess. So
Lisa,
what have you guys been up to?
Looks like Lisa's trying to come back, but she's having a hard time.
I've been putting in a garden. I built gardening boxes. I built them myself, and I have 2 yards of soil being delivered next Monday, and I have plants growing in my basement that I'm going to transfer. I've never really done any of that stuff before, so it's kind of exciting.
And this is the kind of riveting television that that you can expect from us.
You can actually. I'm going to create a little video station where people can actually watch the plants grow under the light.
Not in time lapse, in real time.
Yeah, no, in real time.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, you know, Lisa keeps trying to come back to the chat, but she's doesn't have the bandwidth.
I think
the resurrection took 3 days.
What happens? And what?
The resurrection took 3 days.
When more people enter, the whole thing starts to break up for me. Maybe that's the issue.
Maybe
what
take
did I
some of
miss?
us out. Siberian Summer.
Oh, yes.
Maybe it's a new show. It's a special.
Well, I don't know if Lisa mentioned it, but that's the show that we were actually supposed to be in rehearsals for right now, and we were going to open. Our first preview was this coming Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
Siberia. I call them double cast, so that's kind of that's a little sad, but yeah, hopefully we'll be back one day and get on that train.
Sorry, guys. I was hysterical during that Rivka Lev. I don't know how you kept it together.
Well, I almost didn't. The one with David, I'm completely about to crack up, like on multiple occasions. So.
And I was also thinking how, like, this was so, like, in COVID times, people are doing Rivka Lev videos like crazy, but you were so ahead of the curve. Like, this was so novel that you did this. And looking back on it now, it's still fantastic. it's still fantastic, and we could probably use her. She should come back and give us her thoughts on the crisis.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if I could get to the Seagull and get the wigs and the costumes, then she'd be back. But
There's a
I
wig?
can't get in the building.
You know, if Louise Bourret can make anything happen. So maybe we'll talk offline. It's 10:02. This has been both the most incredible hour and also technically very annoying. So just thank you for your patience, Ellen, and thank you, David, for playing co-host, and Alex for showing up late, and Stephen for participating. This play was so special, and I can't wait for us to be able to do work like this, not on virtual, but in real life. And it's just so good to see you, and I'm so happy you're here and you spent this time with us, and to everyone watching, and to Melanie backstage for braving the tech storm with us. It's been really great.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I agree. I think, one of the things that's going to come out of this is we are going to value the times we get together as a collective of human beings in a place together. And I think theater will be cherished when we get to do it in a way that it hasn't been in a long time.
Yeah. No, well put. It's wonderful to see people even like this, but it'll be better in the flesh by far.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, every time we were in the same city, we always took the opportunity to get together, the three of us, and with Stephen when we could. So we really bonded, and I just know our next reunion is going to be really special.
Yes. In person. I hope so. All of you.
Thank you so much. And hello, bye everyone at the Seagull.
Bye everybody. Thanks so much. Nice to see you.
L'chaim.